Wow.
You've got a great idea for an app, and you can't believe that no one else has thought of it yet. You're sure this idea would sell like crazy. Except,
I look at Trump and I'm like, this is not a radical person in most ways. Why? And a lot of the things that he says are things that the Democratic Party was like officially for 10 years ago. Less wars, pay attention to the forgotten man.
Free trade is kind of bad.
Yeah, right, exactly, right. I mean, these are not, he is not a radical right winger as I would have conceived of a radical right winger in 1998 or 2018. So why, but the Hive like reacted to him like the devil does holy water, just like, I can't be near you. What is that? I still don't fully understand it.
I think it's two things. One, less important, though still not trivial, which is comportmentally, he's just such a radical departure from the way anybody who has ever gotten close to the presidency has conducted themselves. And I remember so well the time I realized.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's true. But once you understand what that is, you can put it in the proper context and not go insane about it. I remember the time that I realized just how far gone the media was when it came to this, and like the political establishment generally, which was during the 2016 campaign when they kept asking about like collusion with Russia and all that. And he said, I don't know anything about that. I have nothing to do with the Russians, but hey, Russians, if you're listening, they were asking him, did you participate in the hacking?
Yeah.
And he was like, I didn't have anything to do with that, but hey, like Russia, if you're listening, maybe you could find Hillary Clinton's like 87,000 deleted emails.
For real.
Which was obviously like a joke, just just a joke. Like, I have nothing to do with Russia, but if they're such great hackers, maybe they can find. The media took that and they, for over a year, earnestly pretended that this was proof that he was in cahoots with Russia because he submits hacking requests to Russia. Like, if you have some like back channel secret relationship with Russia, the way you're going to like submit your request is by standing in front of 130 cameras and be like, hey, Putin, this is my latest hacking request. Go find those emails. Instead of like having a, Don Jr. meet in a parking lot with some like Russian agent or whatever. I mean, but the fact that they were willing to, they really thought that was a smoking gun, and could not understand how Trump jokes, how he uses irony, how he like purposely trolls, was, the time that I realized just how far gone they were. But I think the bigger reason why they were, and I think we've talked about this before, is I would say since the end of World War II, maybe before that, but certainly since the end of World War II, what we have more or less is a continuity of core Washington dogma on foreign and economic policy.
Correct.
You have, on the margins, things that make it appear like the parties are so different. They fight about abortion. They do disagree on abortion or culture war issues, all of that. But on the question of how power is distributed, on how the U.S. maintains global hegemony, on feeding the war machine, on how our economic system functions and who it serves, there is complete continuity between Republicans and Democrats. Like those permanent power factions in Washington, the corporatism, militarism, don't care at all who wins because their policies prevail no matter what. You can vote for whoever you want. You can vote against it. You can vote for it. It doesn't matter. It continues. Trump, by necessity, because the Republicans had already chosen Jeb Bush as their candidate, we all expected it was going to be another Bush-Clinton race. It was going to be Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton. That was the assumption that everyone had. Hillary would have lost had the DNC not cheated for her, but they did cheat for her, so she was the nominee. But the only way Trump could break through, how do you break through against all the Republican money behind Jeb Bush? You have to run against the Bush family. You have to run against conservative Republican dogma on both economics and foreign policy. He ran against the Iraq War. He ran against permanent war. He ran against serving corporatism at the expense of the working people, against free trade at the expense of, like having an industrial base. And he became a kind of threat, and Steve Bannon was the architect of the time, and Steve Bannon's vision very much was that, like, the Republican establishment is at least as bad as the Democratic establishment, and he was a threat to disrupt this bipartisan continuity on which power factions in Washington depend, and I think that's what made him so unhappy.
What are they doing? Oh my God, fight! There's a fight!
Kendall,
How you doing, Kendall?
I'm great.
What would you like to discuss or debate?
I mean, so I heard you say earlier that with life now, we're all like avatars. We can all like choose.
I'm saying we have control of our own lives. Like people that want to play a victim and say that Donald Trump owns your vagina or wants to blame politicians for the reason they're not successful in life. It's not their fault. It's your fault that you're not successful.
Okay, so like you said, we all get to like make our own choices. I didn't choose to be black, and I'm pretty sure like y'all didn't choose to be black either.
So
Like you think I was in the womb, and I was like, let me choose oppression, and like come out. So. And you said we could debate anything. You said
we can
talk
debate
about
anything.
Yeah. So I want to know what's your standpoint on Black Lives Matter?
Would you have chosen to be black? You sound like you're
I love being black.
Oh, you do? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you're sad about being black.
No, I love being black.
It sounds like you're constantly being
I'm black and I'm beautiful. Thank you.
I agree.
I'm black and I'm beautiful. Thank you.
I know, but you came here and said you're oppressed.
We are. We're extremely oppressed. We're black. We're beautiful. And you know what we do? We take the situation we've been put in and we have thrived.
Mm-hmm.
And not only have we thrived, we have created this country to thrive.
Well, why do so many black women have babies out of wedlock? Why is that?
Me personally, I can't speak too much about that.
So you don't think that happens in the black community?
That does happen in the black community.
So why do you let black men take advantage of black women like that? Just get them pregnant and run off. Is that good?
First of all, I'm not saying that is a good thing. And me personally, I would... Right. And that's not something that just happens in the black community. I know tons of unmarried white women who have no ring, whose boyfriends virtually hate them, whose parents told them, you know what, you're going to have this baby and y'all are going to sit here and y'all are going to raise it. So while that does happen in the black community, and that is not something that we sit here and that we completely sweep under the rug as what is noticed in your community from my personal experience. But what I will say is, I personally believe that we don't have to sit here and say that black men disrespect black women by just getting why is in your perspective that black men are constantly disrespecting black women?
Because the amount of children that come from a 2-family home in the black community is much less than the Asian community, much less than the white community. So why is that? Why, much less than the Latino community? Why are black people not staying with these black women? Why is that? Why are black women letting black men take advantage of them? I don't want that to continue to happen. I want black women to stand up and not just have the guys, get them pregnant and then run off or have 10 different babies with 10 different baby mamas. That's not a good system. That's not a good world to live in. Is that what you want to live in?
Why can't you say the mother of our children rather than baby mama?
Because that's what it is, a baby mama. I mean, come on, listen, we're not going to sit here and try to be proper and all this stuff. I'm sitting here to try to debate, and I'm just trying to tell you the honest truth is that, listen, we do live in a world where being black, you could use every excuse in the book. You can say you're oppressed, this and that, but there's a lot of very successful black people that did not use that excuse. And for every successful black person that didn't use that excuse, you should look at them. You should say, why didn't they use an excuse to be a victim? Why are they successful? And we should emulate what they're doing because there's a lot of successful black people in this country. So, yeah.
There's a lot of successful black people in this country, and there are a lot of black people in this country who are successful.
They overcome the oppression.
They've overcome the oppression, and at the same time,
so can you overcome it?
I believe that I can.
I do too.
I 100%
I believe every black person can.
Yeah, and as do I. But what you're saying is, you say that we use everything as an excuse. I'm not saying that I walk around talking about, oh, woe is me, I'm black, and that's why I don't.
Did at the beginning.
No. I said that we are
within the first. Well, here we'll debate you too, but within the first 10 seconds, you're talking about oppression.
We are extremely oppressed. Let me tell you right now.
You look like you're not oppressed at all. You're like on a college campus. You got some Uggs on. I
was raised beautifully by 2 married black parents that love me so much.
So you had a great 2-family home.
What I'm going to sit here and say is, good and well, if this was a Black Lives Matter rally, these police officers would be trying to shut this down rather than around you trying to protect you.
Why is that? Why
because they don't want us to speak our truth. This country was built off the backs
of
black individuals.
Well, then, okay, first of all, then why black people, they are 14% of the population or a little less, why do they commit over 50% of the violent crimes? Why is that?
I'm not a thesaurus. I'm not an encyclopedia. I'm not saying I'm CNN. I'm not Fox News. I don't know all of those things exactly. But what I do know is I am a Black person in this country, and there are so many opportunities that I personally know that that I cannot get, that a white person is going to be more likely to get, or if I would like to get said opportunity.
Wait, tell me what? What?
Can I finish my statement?
Please finish. But
can I please finish my statement? So, but there are other opportunities that I have to gentrify myself in order to become more presentable or more palatable for the white community. There are certain things that I know growing up. My hair is different. And up until very recently, there were certain laws that allowed for me to be discriminated against because I could not do certain things with my hair. Or I could not get certain jobs with my hair. There are certain jobs that I would not have been able to get if I wore my natural curly afro into work. But there are now laws such as the Crown Act that allow for employers to not be able to fire or cause disciplinary action towards their employees. There's even the certain way that I speak. I'm making sure right now when I'm speaking to you that I am enunciating perfectly, that I am not using any kind of slang towards you because I want you.
Should, but go ahead. I mean, you can use slang.
I want you to think that I am palatable and I'm not coming at you aggressively.
Yeah. You're not. No, you're doing great.
Do you understand? Like, I just want you to understand, but I'm making sure that I do that in order so that way you don't see me as that stereotype as an aggressive Black woman.
Yeah, but why is that stereotype? Why does that stereotype exist?
Because everyone thinks that we are always angry.
What about immigration? See, it's funny in Georgia, like I'm from Texas, and everywhere you go, it's Mexicans because it's Texas, right? It's always been before, my whole life. And I love Mexicans. Like everybody in the conservative space, they want to deport illegal immigrants. And I actually disagree. I feel like if you're a big booty Latina, you get to stay in this country. All big booty Latinas get to stay, regardless of your immigration status. You get to stay. Now, if you're a guy, you got to go. All right. We don't have any room for cartel members, MS-13, Trinidad Bruga. You guys can go. But your big booty Latina ladies, because if any of you guys come to my house, any of you ICE, if you're watching this ICE, and you try to touch my housekeeper Juanita, I will kill you. Sorry about that. Sorry, I'm going to bleep that out.
And you said you support Trump.
I like Trump, yeah.
You think trans rights don't matter?
Yeah.
You think there's only two genders?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know you agree with that.
No, I don't.
You don't?
You don't care what I think.
No, I do. But why is the Black community so mean to other gay Black men?
I'm not mean to gay Black men.
Yeah,
Ask them.
I
don't know.
Why do
there's some
gay Black
Ooga
men
Booga going on right now. Check it out.
Why is that?
Ask them. I don't know.
I wonder why. I know, is it maybe because there's a social stigma within the Black community that being gay is not accepted? Do you think white people accept homosexuality or gay people? I mean, let me ask you this: do Black people or white people accept homosexuality more?
Neither.
Neither accept.
No.
See,
but Black people are more likely to get over it. White people
get over it. White people get more mad about gay people. Are you kidding?
Not my family, so I don't know about you. My family's cool.
You know that. You know in the Black community you have to be down low.
But I'm not the voice. I've never been down low a day in my life.
Are you a lesbian?
No.
Oh. See how you shake your head though? You're like, no, I'm not a lesbian.
I didn't shake my head like that. I'm bisexual.
You did. Like, you're bisexual?
Yes.
Wow. Somebody get her number. Shout out to.
I have a boyfriend.
Do you have a boyfriend?
Yes, I have a boyfriend.
But you like girls too? What does he say about that?
He doesn't.
That's bullshit.
He doesn't care at all? So you're like Katy Perry.
Some Skittles.
You kissed a girl and you like it, but you're not full.
That's not how that works.
Do you believe she went to space? Yeah, she didn't go to space.
I don't really care that she went to space.
She just went high up in the sky, came down to space. I like in space.
Do you see how you're changing the subject?
No, I'm talking about gay stuff. No, I'm talking
about
gay stuff.
I'm talking about
lesbians. Katy Perry, I kissed a girl and I like it. And
Katy Perry's not a lesbian.
She kissed a girl and she likes it. That makes you gay. If you kiss a girl and you like it, you're gay.
I guess so.
Yeah, see, you agree. I won debate one. There you go.
You didn't win no debate.
The biggest debate of the day. I won it.
No debate. I'll tell you that much.
Well, she kissed a girl and she liked it, so that's gay.
Yes, I guess so.
Okay, we agree. Okay, I won that
Have you kissed a girl and you liked it?
Yeah, but I'm not gay.
No, but that is gay. But that is gay. You just said it.
I'm saying if you kiss a girl and you like it. Okay, well, I agree. I agree. Then I'm gay. All right, I'm gay. All right.
Okay, good.
As a gay man on this campus, my opinion is more important. So.
Yes. Because actually, it's not.
Yes, it is. It is more important. Yes, and I'm white, so it's definitely more important.
No.
Gay white men are the most powerful men in the world.
Donald Trump is no.
Yes, they are. Adam Schiff, all these gay guys.
No.
Look at these ladies. Wait, what are they doing? Oh my God, fight! There's a fight! We're grabbing signs! Hey, film this! Film this! Do not steal the signs! Oh, I like this. This is good. This is good.
What idiots are.
Oh, wow! Thug live.
The sign is gone.
Wow. That was wild. All right, guys, that was fun.
They accomplished nothing.
Yeah, Gwen! Give it up for Gwen! She was like
Go
a
Gwen.
freaking safety, just, cutting them off. That was great.
Zeroed
See,
in on
guys,
it
this
like
is
it was a
fun.
dick.
We're having fun, guys. Honestly, Gwen, she's a superstar. And I'm sorry for your boyfriend because you're cheating on him with other girls.
You want
Yeah.
to tell him?
Yeah, your
He's in
boyfriend's
there.
a cuckold. Yeah, where's your
You wanna
boyfriend?
tell him
Oh,
he's-
hey, bring your boyfriend down here.
He's in there. He's in
Oh, is your boyfriend's a cuckold letting you cheat on him with little girls?
I didn't know I was cheating on my.
Okay, yeah. Well, you're bisexual, so I'm sure you're doing all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm
yeah.
getting orgies with girls all the time.
Yeah, that's
I
disgusting.
had an orgy last night. Sure
You had
did.
an orgy last night?
I did.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
that's how sick your brain is. You're having group sex. and You're being
Threesomes.
nasty. And that's the world you want to live in. You just want to be a
do.
nasty girl and be nasty.
You
Why
watching
does
this
it matter
man?
when I'm doing that?
Well, if you're an
You
adult,
watching
I
it?
guess you can do whatever you want, but it's just sad.
Exactly.
It's just an embarrassment. Are your parents happy that you had an orgy last night? Is your dad happy you had an orgy?
Answer me.
Your dad? Did you say, hey, Dad, I had an orgy last night? Yeah, that's sick.
He's so
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
He's so
Your dad's
proud.
really proud.
He's so proud.
What do you want to talk about, Eliana?
Oh,
He's
I
not
just heard
proud.
you say some things about orgies. I don't know. I just
didn't say
I just
that.
got
The
you.
last girl saying she had an orgy last night.
Oh.
I didn't have an. I've never had an
People
orgy
always
in my
never
life.
heard the word orgy.
So is there like, do you have a problem with orgies or
Yeah.
like?
Do I personally have a problem? Yeah. I mean, I guess they're probably not great. I mean, she's sitting here bragging about it. I was just saying, I don't know if that's something you should brag about, having group sex, I don't think that's healthy. I think that's probably dangerous, just
Yeah, it's
having
not good.
sex with random partners. I think the rise of venereal diseases out there and the, just the weird world we live in today. I don't think it's safe to have group sex with people. believe
Did
it or
she say
not.
that they were random?
Need a UGC video for your business? Find me and many other skilled creators on Fiverr. Or you
Just saying
Degeneracy.
that's wrong.
But
this
what makes that
retard.
sexual degeneracy? Already that established
Yeah.
emotional connection, but having sex for the simple purpose of having sex and having pleasure also feels really good
Yeah, but
because
can-
you're still attaining that goal.
Of course, yes, there's pleasure with sex. I agree. But after you have sex with people, are there problems after that? Are there?
I mean, if you continue to talk to them,
Exactly right. Exactly right. I'm just saying it's not as easy.
but it's not as easy as like being a friend, because I can have friends that I have issues with without having sex with them.
LGBT movement's failing. Oh god.
Some carry hate. We carry the largest trans pride flag to ever be flown in a national park and unfurled
my
it on
God.
the side of El Cap to prove a point that trans is natural.
Please, tell me what's natural about having to wear a wig and tons of eye makeup to try and get people to treat you like a woman.
The Trump administration and transphobes would love to have you believe that being trans is unnatural, but species that can transition sexes can be found on every continent and in every ocean on planet Earth.
That had to be the most disingenuous analogy that I've ever heard. Show me a human male that's become female spontaneously without spending like $100,000 in the operating room.
Never happened.
Well,
Jesus Christ.
Even then, they spend the money, it doesn't happen.
even the surgeries don't change their biology.
Yeah.
And just
No.
because certain animals can do things doesn't mean that humans can do those things. Some
Yeah.
animals aren't sexually dimorphic, and the females are just as strong as the males.
It's
That's not-
actually quite in times the opposite, where the females are larger in size than the males. Here in America, that's also the case, but in most normal countries, it's not.
Humans, though, there are a lot of differences between the sexes.
Spiders.
I
yeah.
mean, I don't think I've seen an analogy this bad since the croissant analogy.
If trans women aren't women, then is this big croissant not a croissant? Of course it's a croissant. It's made out of butter and dough just like any other croissant.
Right, a big croissant.
So it's made out of butter and dough, but what if
How
somebody's
stupid
made
are
out of certain chromosomes?
Stupid
I feel like this is an argument that defeats itself. Like how do you do you never even think like what?
It's a really bad argument.
Croissant and a small croissant are still both croissants, except that's not what's happening here. You're not a big croissant saying that you're a small one. You're a taco saying, I identify as a pastry.
So before I demolish this delicious and very valid pastry, repeat after me. Big croissants don't affect me in the slightest.
Yeah, that's not the case. In fact,
Jesus.
That's exactly everyone's problem and why people have so much energy against trans activism. We were all just out here minding our own business, and then a bunch of activists started inserting themselves into everything and saying, you have to treat us how we demand you treat us, or you lose your job. This sort of extortionist behavior is why people are mad at the LGBT crowd.
I'm actually non-binary and use they them pronouns.
I think that's a good assumption, or a good assertion. I think he's right by that. Yeah, true. Do they even understand how words work? Look at all those Pokemon. What do you think?
I definitely could see that. In the best way possible, you look like you'd be non-binary. Slay, they. You realize that isn't a compliment, right?
I guarantee you that when people say that, 99% of the time,
They're just trying to be nice.
it's not meant to be a compliment.
Well,
and that's
no, they're just trying to be nice. You look like a they. That's okay. Like, I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like it's all about intent. And I feel like a lot of the problems that these people have is that they're constantly walking around with a cross and they're just eagerly waiting for somebody to nail them up. They want somebody to nail them up.
because as soon as you see the wacky hair color and the nose ring, oh, wait, this person actually doesn't have a nose ring. Shocking. But when regular people see the wacky outfits, they know they're about to deal with a very difficult or annoying person or a narcissist.
See, that's the real reality. Is it's not even about a person's sexuality. It's the people. I think this is what's happened. I think that a lot of people have gotten involved with these different things because they are narcissistic and they have personality disorders and they need to have some kind of like self-aggrandizement. I think that's what's been happening.
Shopify is a platform that helps entrepreneurs get started down the path they want. Sometimes starting a business can be scary. I feel like I lost a little piece of my.
I mean, there are just so many examples of people with narcissistic personality disorder being gassed up by every major corporation for identifying as LGBT. And everyone hates stuff like this. From Today USA, women want to be her, men want to be with her. Dylan Mulvaney, the true definition of beauty and grace. Bro, Dylan Mulvaney doesn't even want to be Dylan Mulvaney. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of trans people out there who just...
Why would you say that? It's so weird. Why would you even do that?
Want to mind their own business and go on with their lives. In fact, the right to be able to mind their own business was originally what the LGBT movement was pushing for.
Yeah.
And I think that's an idea that most Americans these days would have no problem supporting.
They do. It's not that they don't have a problem supporting it. They already do support it. They're fine with it.
However, the activists, not the normie LGBT people, I'm specifically talking about the activist part of this community, constantly display the most self-centered and entitled behavior. And it's not transphobic or bigoted to point out when someone's being a self-absorbed asshole. Let's go back to...
Fucking exactly. Who is this guy? Who is this? This fucking finally. Yes, true.
That image. Women want to be her. Yeah, except for all the women who were pissed off at Dylan's woman face behavior. In fact, people were so mad at Dylan that Anheuser-Busch almost had to give up the Bud Light brand.
Jesus,
men want to be with her.
$400 million?
No, straight men don't. The second they find out you're trans, you're going to get ghosted.
This video is for straight men and straight men only. I'm sorry, but how in the world could you not like me? Yes, I'm a trans woman.
You're using a filter. I can tell you're using a filter.
Like, what is so different about dating me than a cis woman?
The fact that you have
Everything.
a penis. That's the difference. And people don't want that. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's totally simple. Asman's right.
It's the same reason why, like a guy'd want to date a girl with big boobs or something. It's a sexual preference. It's really just that simple. It's really not that, like, I mean, I don't even know, like, what, like, it yeah, I mean, it's I don't even get this.
can do everything that she can.
Except have children. Did you notice the narcissistic, I'm so great behavior? That's why people don't like you. The guy I was on a date with just found out that I was trans. Why is he just finding out on the date? Why wasn't this disclosed on the dating app? I mean, they were definitely using a dating app.
Oh man, I love this guy. Oh my god, I've never seen anything. I'm gonna subscribe. I'm gonna subscribe right now. This is, oh my god. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I gotta pull this up because I said this the other day. I said this like this is thing, right? And so like if I pull this up, this is what I said about Creator Clash. I said as a general rule, if providing someone with certain information would make them less likely to make a purchase or make a decision, withholding that information is unethical. Also, the absence of information is the same as a lie because in both cases, the intent is malicious. And that's what it is. These are people that are actively trying to deceive you, and then they guilt you into being angry for being deceived. The intent is to deceive. You are participating in a malicious action.
Photos can be edited and the voice chat wasn't used. Why is it so hard to date straight men when you're just a normal trans girl who makes content for the internet? Well, there you go. Stop catfishing people and maybe you'll find someone who
Stop catfishing people. Exactly. Yes. It's like if I was a girl and I dated a guy, I was going out on a date with a guy and he said he was 6'5" and he was actually 6'1", I would probably not want to date him. That would be a really big red flag because he's a liar.
Exactly, the liar.
Why would you lie about that?
It's not that hard.
Yeah, you're just lying. I mean, at the end of the day, you're lying. Like, what are you doing?
Actually likes you. I mean, it's crazy how many trans people think it's perfectly fine to start a relationship out by lying by omission.
What are you even really disclosing? What is there to disclose? There's no deception. When you're dating someone, you don't have to disclose every single thing about yourself up front. That's the fun of it. You get to learn.
Well, there are certain things that you do disclose, right? That it's like kind of, it makes sense that you disclose. Like, for example, people should disclose whether they're in a relationship currently, whether they've had kids before, whether they have STDs. Let me think. Besides that, there's maybe a couple of other things too. Their age. Yeah, their age. They should disclose their age. And so there's a lot of examples of these things. And it's like it's again, these are people that try to like reinvent the rules for life because the rules are not in their favor or they're not working out in their favor. But the world isn't going to reinvent itself because you want to. That's not the way the world works. It's never how
someone new.
Considering that the status of your sexuality is a big deal for a relationship, that definitely should be disclosed before you even go on a date. Though in this case, I actually wouldn't worry because I don't think anyone's being fooled by you.
He shows off his results of facial feminization surgery. What is your reaction? Again, just reading the tweets. Don't get mad at me. Let's take a look at this. Bro, I'm going to keep it a bug. You got to go back and ask for a refund. Like, this was not a complete job. This is just incomplete homework.
Though, to be honest, some trans people are more feminine than others, and it's harder for normies to tell. So in the case where someone is intentionally tricked and any form of sexual contact happens that they would otherwise not consent to, I think...
Fucking exactly. Listen to this again.
Trans people are more feminine than others, and it's harder for normies to tell.
Yep.
So in the case where someone is intentionally tricked and any form of sexual contact happens...
Tricking people into sexual contact. Good or bad? Ah, geez, guys. Ooh, that's a tough one.
...that they would otherwise not consent to.
Yep.
I think that should be considered sexual assault. These people are all about consent, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can't consent if you don't understand the terms of the deal. And
it's so disappointing that people... I've noticed this a lot, is that I think that people fully understand consent and they actively ignore it when it's inconvenient for themselves. I think that every guy and every woman, trans or not, understands exactly what's going on here, and they're just ignoring it because they can.
Trying to trick someone into consenting to something they otherwise would not consent to if they had full knowledge of the terms, then that is very much the mentality of a rapist. You aren't fooling anyone. Everyone knows that you aren't disclosing this information right away for a reason. And really, the best
exactly
way to continue to take power away from these people so they can't threaten us anymore is to just start calling stuff what it is.
He's completely right about this too. I totally agree with him. I think the best way to do this is to just be direct, honest, and upfront about it, rather than try to use euphemisms and platitudes and say that these people are actively sexually they're basically active sexual predators. If
What are you doing? Oh my God, fight! There's a fight!
Kendall?
Kendall, how you doing, Kendall?
I'd like to speak tonight on a subject which is very relevant to our times. The end of the world.
Blessed Seraphim Rose was born into a typical middle-class American family. After high school, he began to search for meaning and truth, and not finding it in the culture and society in which he had been raised, he began to rebel. He had rejected the quote-unquote Christianity of America, which he regarded as worldly, weak, fake. For him, it seemed that they put God in a box. So he turned to the writings of the mad prophet Nietzsche, until his words began to resonate in his soul with infernal power. He then fell into total despair, which he later described as a living hell. He felt that he didn't fit into the modern world, or even into his own family, who didn't understand him. It was as if he was somehow born into the wrong place, wrong time. He loved to roam under the stars, but he felt that there was nothing there to take him in. No God. Nothing. So he started drinking to ease the pain. Eugene began to follow in the footsteps of a man he once met named Jack Kerouac, one of the founders of the Beat Generation.
No, you. What are you doing? Oh my God, fight! There's a fight!
Most people have not read the Bible from cover to cover, and those who have often come across passages that are puzzling and difficult to grasp. Even when the Bible is taught, these passages are not mentioned because they're hard to explain. Yet, although these texts may seem unusual, they carry hidden meanings. Today, we're uncovering the 10 strangest passages in the Bible, along with their interpretations. Let's get started. 1. The stones that allow conversations with God. In the Bible, mysterious stones, known as the Urim and Thummim, appear on several occasions. These were carefully kept in the high priest's garments, carried close to his heart. The priest carried them inside the breastplate of judgment, a special garment worn over his chest. The main purpose of the
That's crazy.
Urim and Thummim was to directly seek God's will, and the Bible describes their use on many occasions. In the book of Samuel, David was fleeing from King Saul, who was pursuing him intent on killing him. While David was in the wilderness, he learned that the Philistines were attacking the city of Keilah and raiding its threshing floors. Facing this urgent situation, David felt the need to act, but also sought guidance from God. David called for Abiathar, the priest, who carried the ephod, the sacred garment containing the Urim and Thummim. When David learned that Saul was plotting against him, he said to Abiathar the priest, "Bring the ephod." David then asked very specific questions of God through this method. First he asked, "Shall I go and attack these Philistines?" And the Lord answered David, "Go, attack the Philistines and rescue Keilah." However, David's men grew fearful upon hearing the Lord's direction, so David sought confirmation from the Lord once again. After God reassured him of his help, David and his men advanced to Keilah, fought against the Philistines and rescued its inhabitants. But the inquiry didn't end there. Later, when Saul was plotting to go to Keilah to capture David, David again turned to the Urim and Thummim. David asked, "Will Saul come down to Keilah, as your servant has heard?" And the Lord replied, "Yes, he will come down." Then David asked further, "Will the people of Keilah betray me and my men into Saul's hands?" And the Lord answered, "They will betray you." Thanks to this mysterious guidance provided through the Urim and Thummim, David and his men managed to escape from Keilah in time, avoiding capture by Saul. But King Saul himself, in pursuing David, also used this direct channel to God. The outcome was shocking. His own son Jonathan was revealed as guilty of breaking a royal decree. During a fierce battle against the Philistines, Saul put an oath upon his army, declaring, "Cursed be the man who eats food before evening, before I have taken vengeance upon my enemies." However,
Wait, is this you when trying to build a website? Because I got you. Oh? Check out.
his son Jonathan, unaware of his father's oath, found a honeycomb in the forest. Exhausted from battle, he tasted a little honey, regaining his strength. Later, when Saul sought advice from God through the Urim and Thummim about whether to continue pursuing the Philistines during the night, the Lord gave him no answer. This divine silence deeply disturbed Saul, who took it as a sign that sin among the people had broken their communication with God. Determined to find the guilty party, Saul turned to the Urim and Thummim. He declared that even if the guilt fell upon his son Jonathan, he would surely die. The Urim and Thummim first singled out Saul and Jonathan from among the people, and then unmistakably indicated Jonathan. Then Saul said, "Cast lots between me and my son Jonathan," and the lot fell on Jonathan. When it emerged that Jonathan had unknowingly tasted honey, thus unintentionally breaking his father's solemn vow, Saul felt bound by his word and by the sacred outcome, and sentenced his son to death. "Indeed, Jonathan, you must surely die," declared the king. Yet the people, mindful of Jonathan's bravery and the great victory he had brought to Israel that day, courageously stepped forward to plead on his behalf. They reminded Saul that Jonathan had acted alongside God to achieve this great triumph, and thus they rescued Jonathan, and he did not die. This dramatic event illustrates the seriousness with which vows and sacred inquiries were regarded. 2. A talking donkey speaks with the seer Balaam. The prophet Balaam had been summoned by the king of Moab to curse the nation of Israel, which had set up camp near his borders. As Balaam journeyed riding his donkey, accompanied by 2 servants, an angel of the Lord appeared on the path ahead, sword drawn, invisible to the prophet's eyes, yet clearly seen by the donkey. The first time the donkey saw the angel, she veered off the road into a field. Without understanding why, Balaam struck the animal to steer her back onto the path. Soon afterward, the angel stood in a narrow path running between 2 vineyards, with walls on either side. Upon seeing the angel again, the donkey pressed herself against one wall, crushing Balaam's foot. Furious, the prophet struck her once more. A third time, the angel positioned himself in an even narrower spot, leaving no way around. Seeing him, the donkey simply laid down under Balaam. Angrily, the prophet's temper boiled over, and he struck the animal harder than before with his staff. At that very moment, something extraordinary happened. The Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you, that you've struck me these 3 times?" In his anger, Balaam even began responding to the animal, but at that moment the Lord allowed Balaam to see the angel. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the path with his sword drawn. Immediately Balaam bowed down and fell on his face. Balaam knelt and placed his face to the ground. The angel rebuked him for his cruelty toward the animal, who had saved his life by turning aside, and reminded him that his way was perverse in God's sight. 3. The handwriting on the wall. In the magnificent palace of Babylon, King Belshazzar hosted a lavish feast for 1,000 of his nobles' wives and concubines. In the midst of drunken revelry, Belshazzar committed an act of serious sacrilege. He ordered that the gold and silver vessels taken by his predecessor Nebuchadnezzar from the temple of God in Jerusalem be brought out. With these holy cups, the king and his guests toasted, praising their idols of gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. But at the height of their celebration, a mysterious event occurred, causing terror among everyone present. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the fingers of a human hand appeared. Before the eyes of all the guests, the fingers began writing strange, cryptic words onto the plaster of the palace wall, illuminated by a nearby lampstand. The words written were, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. King Belshazzar was struck with terror. His face turned pale, and he was so frightened that his legs became weak and his knees were knocking. In haste, the king summoned all his wise men, magicians, Chaldeans, and astrologers, promising rich rewards to anyone who could read the writing and interpret its meaning. But none of them, despite all their acclaimed wisdom, could decipher the message. In the midst of this confusion, the Queen Mother remembered Daniel, a prophet renowned since Nebuchadnezzar's reign for his divine insight. Daniel was brought before the king, and refusing the offered rewards, proceeded to reveal God's judgment. The words written were, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. Daniel interpreted them thus. Mene, God has numbered the days of your kingdom and has brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found lacking. Peres, your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. God's verdict was swift and irrevocable. That very night, just as Daniel had foretold, Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius the Mede took control of the kingdom. This event endures as a solemn reminder of God's sovereign power over earthly kingdoms, his judgment against arrogance and profanity. 4. The prohibition against boiling a young goat in its mother's milk. There is one biblical prohibition that has drawn considerable curiosity among scholars. It appears 3 distinct times in the Old Testament, specifically in Exodus and Deuteronomy, clearly commanded as follows. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. It attracts attention because, rather than being a general dietary restriction, it is curiously specific, forbidding cooking a young goat in the milk of its own mother. The original meaning behind this prohibition has inspired various interpretations. Some biblical scholars suggest it was likely intended to counter pagan rituals, which possibly involved such types of cooking for superstitious or fertility-related ceremonies. Other scholars believe the law aimed at cultivating compassion and respect for the natural order and the parental bond between mother and offspring, forbidding a practice that would seem insensitive or cruel, using the very food intended for sustaining life to boil the offspring itself. This law is repeated multiple times in the Torah and forms a fundamental underpinning for Jewish dietary laws, laying the groundwork for the strict separation between consuming meat and dairy products. 5. Moses sees the back of God. In the book of Exodus, Moses asked to see God's glory. After interceding for the Israelites and enjoying a unique closeness with the Lord, Moses boldly made an audacious request. Please, show me your glory. God's response was solemn. He informed Moses that he would pass before him so he could perceive his presence. Yet he issued a critical warning. You cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live. However, in an extraordinary act of grace toward his servant, God granted Moses an unparalleled experience. He allowed Moses to behold his back. To accomplish this, God instructed him to stand upon a rock and explained, When my glory passes by, I will place you in a cleft of the rock and cover you with my hand until I have passed. Afterwards I will remove my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. Thus, shielded by the divine hand in the rock's cleft, Moses witnessed a veiled manifestation of God's presence, described figuratively as his back, once his full glory had passed by.
Meet Uthana, generative AI for 3D animation. Uthana gets your characters moving in seconds.
This anthropomorphic depiction of God has inspired profound reflection. What exactly did Moses see? The text does not provide explicit detail, leaving the exact nature of this vision a profound mystery. The prevailing interpretation of this passage is that no human can behold God's face and survive due to the overwhelming intensity of his majesty. Yet the Father graciously provided Moses a means to glimpse a measure of his glory without being consumed. 6. Jesus writes in the sand and contradicts the Old Testament. The Old Testament outlines severe punishments for certain sins in its effort to establish an orderly society under the covenant with God. Among these punishments, stoning, putting someone to death by the community's throwing of stones, stood out as the ultimate penalty reserved for offenses deemed especially grave. Crimes such as blasphemy, idolatry, witchcraft, or sexual sins like adultery could trigger this sentence. The intention was to purge evil from among the people and uphold the holiness of the covenant. A clear example of this practice is recounted in the book of Numbers. While the Israelites were wandering in the wilderness, a man was found gathering wood on the Sabbath, a task forbidden by law. They brought the man before Moses. After Moses consulted the Lord about what must be done, the divine instruction came back clear. The man was ordered to be stoned to death by the entire community outside the camp. And so it was done, faithfully fulfilling the Lord's command. This story illustrates the seriousness with which obedience to God's law was upheld in those days. Yet when we arrive at the New Testament, we encounter a transformative episode involving Jesus that shifts the understanding of this punishment. In the Gospel of John, we find the story of how the scribes and Pharisees brought before Jesus a woman caught in the very act of adultery. They placed her in the midst of the crowd, citing the law of Moses, which ordered that such women be stoned, and asked Jesus what he believed should be done. Rather than immediately responding, Jesus calmly bent down and wrote with his finger in the dust, as though he hadn't heard them. When they pressed him further, he stood and uttered words that still echo today as a proverbial saying, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Then once again he stooped down, continuing to write in the dirt. Ashamed, her accusers began slipping away one by one, beginning from the oldest down to the youngest, until finally only Jesus and the woman were left standing. Jesus straightened up, and seeing no one but the woman, asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Go now and leave your life of sin." With this act, Jesus openly challenged Old Testament teachings. He introduced a radical principle of compassion, offering the woman a chance to repent and start a new life, rather than subjecting her to condemnation as dictated by the law. 7. Jesus curses and withers a fig tree. The Gospel of Mark presents us with an unusual episode involving Jesus, the cursing of a fig tree. This incident occurred during the days leading up to his passion, when Jesus and his disciples were traveling from Bethany to Jerusalem. The story recounts that Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a lush fig tree covered in leaves, which might suggest early fruit, he approached it to see if he could find anything there. Yet when he arrived, he found nothing but leaves. Faced with its barrenness, Jesus spoke stern and direct words to the tree. "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." What is especially curious about this passage is that Mark himself clarifies it was perfectly normal for the fig tree to have no fruit because it wasn't the season yet. But when he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. His disciples heard this pronouncement. The next morning, when they passed by again, the event is described as immediate according to Matthew's account. The disciples were stunned to see the fig tree withered from the roots. Jesus' action of cursing this tree because it had no fruit, particularly when the very gospel states clearly that it wasn't yet the season for figs, has puzzled many readers and led to various interpretations. Clearly, this event was not a mere outburst because of hunger. Rather, it was a symbolic act filled with deeper meaning. Scholars and theologians often emphasize how, in the Old Testament, the fig tree frequently stood as a symbol for the nation of Israel. Thus, A fig tree filled with abundant foliage, promising fruit but delivering none, is understood to represent the spiritual condition of much of Israel at the time of Jesus, particularly its religious leadership. There was an outward appearance of godliness and faith, but genuine spiritual fruit was often lacking. Jesus' arrival in Jerusalem and his lament over the city's spiritual condition both took place during this same time frame, emphasizing the notion of divine judgment upon spiritual barrenness. 8. The second death after hell. The Bible describes the final eternal fate of those who radically oppose God and persist in evil. It is portrayed as a place burning with fire and sulfur, signifying complete and final punishment, commonly known as the second death. This place appears multiple times throughout Scripture, accompanied by descriptions of those who will eventually be cast there. The first mention occurs following the great final battle, often known as Armageddon, as described in Revelation. It states clearly that the beast and the false prophet, who deceived the world into worshipping the beast, are captured. The text explicitly says these two were thrown alive into a lake of burning fire. And the beast was captured, and with it the false prophet. The two of them were thrown alive into the fiery lake of burning sulfur. Later, in Revelation chapter 20, after a 1,000-year period in which Satan is bound, the Bible recounts that the devil is released for a brief time and once again deceives nations into a final rebellion against God. However, his defeat is absolute. The passage declares the devil himself will join the beast and the false prophet in the lake of fire and brimstone. And the devil, who deceived them, was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Following the judgment before the great white throne, where the dead are judged according to their deeds and the book of life is opened, Revelation unveils one final awe-inspiring act. Death itself and Hades are thrown into the lake of fire. This signifies the ultimate annihilation of death as a ruling power. Moreover, it conclusively states that whoever's name was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. This group includes the cowardly and unbelieving, the detestable and murderers, the sexually immoral and sorcerers, the idolaters and all liars. They will have their share in the lake, burning with fire and brimstone. This is the second death. It is specifically described as the second death. The lake of fire is presented as the ultimate and everlasting consequence. 9. The mysterious being, Melchizedek. The Bible describes a being who has neither father nor mother, no genealogy, no beginning nor end. Although seemingly impossible, this mysterious figure emerges suddenly, blesses Abraham, and disappears. Melchizedek is a figure who appears briefly in the book of Genesis, yet whose significance is profound, particularly highlighted in the letter to the Hebrews. His appearance is as sudden as it is meaningful, leaving behind an aura of mystery that has long fascinated biblical scholars. The story takes place after Abraham returned victorious from a battle to rescue his nephew Lot. At that moment, Melchizedek, the priest of God Most High, came out to greet Abraham. He brought no war tributes with him, but instead offered bread and wine, symbols of sustenance and fellowship. Then Melchizedek blessed Abraham in the name of God Most High. And Abraham, in recognition of Melchizedek's spiritual authority, gave him 1/10 of all the spoils. After this sudden interaction, Melchizedek abruptly disappears from the narrative in Genesis. Then Melchizedek blessed him, saying, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth." The mystery deepens as Melchizedek does not reappear until much later in the New Testament within the letter to the Hebrews. There, he is uniquely described. For this Melchizedek, priest of God Most High, who met Abraham and blessed him, whose name means King of Righteousness, having neither father nor mother nor genealogy, without beginning of days or end of life, resembling the Son of God, he remains a priest forever. This description does not necessarily imply that Melchizedek was a heavenly or non-human being, but rather that the biblical record deliberately leaves out his ancestry and descendants. This lack of earthly genealogy is crucial as it allows Melchizedek to more perfectly represent the eternal priesthood also held by Jesus Christ. Thus, Melchizedek, whose name translates as King of Righteousness, introduced to us as a genuine historical figure who served as both king and priest of the true God in very early times. 10. The wheels covered in eyes. The book of the prophet Ezekiel opens with one of the most intricate visions recorded in all scripture. It is described for us in chapters 1 and 10 of Ezekiel. His vision began with a violent whirlwind, an immense cloud, and a brilliant fire radiating brightness all around. From within this fire came forth 4 living creatures of extraordinary appearance. Each one had a general human appearance, but possessed 4 distinct faces. The face of a man in the front, a lion's face on the right side, an ox's face on the left, and an eagle's face at the back. Each creature also had 4 wings, 2 spread upward, touching each other, while the other 2 covered their bodies. Their legs were straight, and their feet resembled calves' hooves, gleaming like polished bronze. Beneath their wings, on all 4 sides, they had human hands. They moved forward with unwavering determination, always straight ahead, never needing to turn. Next to each of these living beings was an astonishing wheel, intersected by another wheel within it, appearing like gyroscopic spheres that could immediately move in any of the 4 directions. These wheels shone brilliantly and their rims were completely covered with eyes. This was, in the prophet's words, the vision of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. This vision, with its intricate imagery of angelic beings, all-seeing wheels, and indescribable divine glory, has intrigued and mystified interpreters for centuries, as it symbolizes God's omniscience and transcendent mobility. 11. The creatures, Leviathan, Behemoth, and Rhiem. The Bible presents a fascinating bestiary of creatures, some majestic and frightening, others symbolic and mysterious. These beings sometimes highlight God's creative power, or in certain cases, represent the forces of chaos and desolation. Leviathan. In the book of Job, chapter 41, God himself describes Leviathan. It is portrayed as a colossal sea creature, covered with impenetrable scales tightly joined like shields, and from its nostrils smoke pours forth. No human weapon can subdue it. Its heart is as firm as a millstone, and its passage through the sea leaves behind a luminous trail. The Psalms also mention it as a creature with whom God plays in the vast waters. The prophet Isaiah also speaks of it, saying, "In that day the Lord will punish with his fierce, great and mighty sword Leviathan, the swift serpent, Leviathan, the twisting serpent, and he will slay the dragon that lives in the sea." Leviathan embodies the raw, primal strength of creation and God's immeasurable dominion over the forces of chaos. Behemoth. Just before describing Leviathan, in Job chapter 40, God introduces Behemoth. "Behold now, Behemoth, says the Lord, whom I made just as I made you. He feeds on grass like an ox." Behemoth is portrayed with tremendous strength in his loins and powerful muscles in his belly, swinging his tail like a cedar tree. His bones are like bars of bronze, and his limbs like rods of iron. While some have attempted to identify Behemoth with familiar animals such as the hippopotamus or elephant, the biblical portrayal grants it qualities far exceeding these creatures, presenting it as an extraordinary masterpiece of God's creative power on the earth, a majestic creature that only its maker can tame. The Rhiem, mentioned throughout various passages of the Old Testament, such as in Numbers, Job, and the Psalms. The ram symbolizes an animal of immense strength and ferocious power. Some older translations, including the King James Version, rendered it as unicorn, sparking abundant curiosity. However, modern scholarship strongly suggests that the ram actually refers to a now extinct wild ox, known for its immense size and strength. The Bible uses this creature to illustrate the powerful might of God and his unique ability to subdue the forces of nature. In Job 39, God asks rhetorically, "Will the reem consent to serve you? Will it spend the night by your manger? Can you bind the ram?" If these passages intrigued you, get ready, because what you've just seen is merely an introduction to even deeper.
Yeah, that's great. Let's watch some cool videos.
To start a podcast with Riverside, all you need is a concept and a way to record it.
Thrillers.
Here's how it works.
Today, I'm going to share 3 stories about people who were in the wrong place
at the wrong time.
But before we get into those stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's of interest to you, please offer the like button a nice high-end teeth whitening kit, but don't tell them you've secretly replaced the whitener with red hair dye. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's stories.
Oh, look. No period mouth like my friend Vin. You fucking degenerate bastard.
At 8:40 a.m. on July 7th, 1967, a 17-year-old girl named Nancy McEwen was driving along a highway in Brooklyn, New York. She was on her way to her job as a secretary at her dad's office in Brooklyn, and she was coming from her home in Long Island, New York. Now, the commute to her office took about an hour, but Nancy didn't mind because her dad had just got her this beautiful, brand new yellow Camaro.
Thanks for the
She
heart.
loved driving it. And the highway she was on had this amazing view of the beach and ocean down below. And so that day, Nancy rolled down her window so she could feel the ocean breeze as she drove. And then she took in a deep breath and she smiled. At the same time Nancy was doing this, a police lieutenant was driving in his car a couple cars back from Nancy. And as he was just driving along, he suddenly sees this yellow Camaro that to this point had been driving completely normally, suddenly veer off the road, miraculously missed the oncoming cars, and then smashed into a tree on the side of the road. And so the police lieutenant instinctively jammed on his brakes and veered over to the shoulder and stopped behind the Camaro. And as the lieutenant got out of the car, he was thinking clearly the driver must have just had some kind of medical emergency, because he didn't see any obstacles in the road. And, you know, the Camaro had been driving completely normally to that point. So like what would cause them to veer and crash into the road at such a high speed other than a medical emergency? And so the lieutenant jumps out of the car, runs over to the driver's side window, and he looks inside and he sees this teenage girl, this blonde teenage girl, and she's slumped over the wheel. And she's not looking up at him. She's not making any sound. She's just sitting there. And so he opens up the door and he asks her, like, "Are you okay?" And she didn't say anything, but she did moan. And so she was breathing, she was alive, and there weren't any obvious physical injuries. Like clearly she's just crashed into this tree at high speed. So she's definitely shaken up, but there weren't any obvious grievous injuries that have occurred here, at least none that he could see. And so he asked her again, like, "Hey, are you okay? What's going on here?" And she just continued to moan. And so again, considering he's looking at her and she seems, you know, basically okay, all things considered, he thought, you know, maybe she's drunk. I mean, that would kind of explain, you know, the sudden veering off the road. And so at this point, the lieutenant radioed for backup and also called for an ambulance. And while he waited, he began searching the car, just basically looking to see if maybe there was some clue in the car as to what happened here. Like, for example, containers of alcohol. And so he's looking around and he doesn't see any empty bottles and he can't smell any alcohol in the car. But still, this whole time, the girl is not responding. She's just moaning and just kind of slumped over there. And then a couple of minutes later, he hears sirens and he looks up and a bunch of first responders came over. They pulled the girl out of the car, got her in the ambulance, and off to the hospital she went. Once Nancy got to the hospital, medical staff was able to determine that she was not drunk. But she did clearly appear to be having some kind of medical emergency, but they didn't know what it was. And again, there was no visible injuries on her. I mean, she just basically looked really shaken up and was not responsive. And quickly, after Nancy was at the hospital, her condition only got worse to the point where doctors were giving her shots of adrenaline to try to keep her alive, but it didn't work. And at 11:30 a.m., roughly 2.5 hours after Nancy crashed into the tree, she died. And it was only then, after Nancy was dead, that the medical staff made a discovery, something that
the hell? I'll put Telugu, whatever the hell that is.
My wife, she's a pain in the ass.
Oh my goodness.
I'd like to crack her in the skull and throw her body in the trash. 'Cause every time she breaks my balls, I want to drop kick her in the head and watch her fall. I said my wife. Oh, I used to love to be her man, but now she's that fat pig driving in a minivan. And now once a year when we fuck, I feel like I'm sticking my dick in a Mack truck. She yells, don't burp, don't fart, don't drink out of the bottle, and take off your shoes. Take out the trash, hand over your cash. Every day I lose. Every time when I see her and she's running her trap, I want to wrap my hands around her fat neck till it snaps. My wife. Oh, what the fuck happened to me? I used to get laid and I was loaded with lots of money. But if I hear one more word out of her mouth, I'm gonna take out my shotgun and blow her brains out.
You piece of shit.
That song is called Exhibit A at Sal's trial.
His wife isn't even fat. She's a good-looking woman, but what does she think?
Shut up, Robin, you fucking nigger. The fuck out of here. My wife. Anyway. Physicist claims they opened a portal to multi-dimensions, man. Yeah. Let's watch that. This is awesome.
Dr. John Blitch, a former program manager at DARPA and Special Forces colonel, has recently come forward with claims that have captured the attention of both scientific and paranormal communities. Blitch, who played a pivotal role in transferring rover and robotic technology between NASA and the Department of Defense, is no stranger to innovation and intelligence. Inducted into the Space Technology Hall of Fame and holding advanced degrees in cognitive psychology, his credibility has been widely respected across military and academic sectors. Yet, his latest revelations delve into a domain far beyond conventional science. According to Blitch, the most memorable and intense of his experiences was an encounter with an imposing, mantis-like entity that stood roughly 7 feet tall. This being carried a distinct male presence and conveyed a sense of irritation, as though it were displeased with Dr. Blitch's reactions. The encounter took place in his third-floor bedroom, and although the entrance was a deck with no stairs, the entity seemed to appear effortlessly through a screen door. This being, according to his account, communicated a message that challenged the very foundation of our understanding of human existence. The entity reportedly told him that the human body is not just flesh and bone, but rather a complex machine engineered to house a soul for a single lifetime. It did not speak in words, but rather projected thoughts and emotions directly into his consciousness. The core of its message was both profound
wife.
and unsettling.
Right.
The human body,
You're in
it
the house,
explained,
ladies and
is not
gentlemen.
simply a biological entity made of flesh and bone. Instead, it is a finely tuned, highly sophisticated vessel, a kind of organic mechanism specifically.
All right, my wife. We'll watch something else. What do you want to watch? You don't want to watch any of this stuff. You wouldn't want to watch any of this. What the hell is dead internet theory? What the fuck is that? Look at this guy. Thinks he's a Power Ranger.
Studio, the platform for agencies and
Thinks he's
enterprises.
a Power Ranger.
Kick off projects in a world.
What's up, everyone? How's it going? Hello, Trolls. I got something for you. Let me find
What
it
the
real quick.
Fuck.
Ah, here it is. Trolls, I found it. Get ready. Fuck you.
Fuck you, Muppet! We're all the way! I'm blocking you! Fuck you, goddamn bitch! We're the champs! No, we still the champs! Fuck you, bitch!
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another video. My name is Channing, and today we're going to be talking about a guy named Scott Rogers, also known as TikTok's Power Ranger Predator. You see, over the past few weeks, I've had Mr. Rogers plastered all over my TikTok For You page. And I'm not going to lie, at first I wanted to refrain from making a video on Scott due to the obvious implications that he deals with some sort of mental disabilities. But then I decided to dig, and what I found throughout my research definitely surprised me. So in this video, we'll be covering all of the important lore behind Scott Rogers, along with his controversies and allegations. But before we get into all of that, let me quickly give you guys some background information. You see, Scott Rogers is a 38-year-old man from Mobile, Alabama, who lives with his dad. But unlike most 38-year-olds, Scott is noticeably obsessed with superheroes and doesn't have a job. And Scott is so obsessed to the point where he buys one-to-one scale cosplay outfits of these said superheroes. For example, in one of Scott's earliest videos on TikTok posted on September 15th in 2022, we see him fully dressed up head to toe in a Batman suit, as you can see here.
Man, not Bane again. My batterings will not help. I know what will. By the power of the Morphin Grid. Saba! Alright, Bane. Let's see how you can handle with the sword. With the White Ranger sword. Saba! Attack! Got him! He's out like a light.
Now, it's also important to mention that as far as we can look back into Scott's digital footprint, he's been dealing with trolls who like to piss him off, because Scott always goes overboard with his reactions. Scott even got so angry at one of these trolls, he decided to pull his gonads out and flash his TikTok live just because he was angry.
You know what, bitch? Suck on this, bitch.
And this wouldn't just happen one time. Yes, it happened twice. Along with that, Scott has also been known to have a very questionable love life due to various different NSFW videos that would get leaked over the years. One of the most notable leaks was when Scott decided to knock up who he thought was a girl in a motel room while recording absolutely everything. And when these videos got out, it was blatantly clear that Scott was bamboozled into getting down with a trans girl. Now, this event would cause absolute chaos for Scott, because all of a sudden his audience full of trolls had even more ammo to make fun of him. And this was evident even in the earlier years of Scott's TikTok journey, because on September 16th, 2024, Scott posted a video mentioning a person known as River Rat. Now, to my understanding, this River Rat alias is just a troll messing with Scott, leading Scott to believe he's in a real relationship.
All right, Jack. River Rat is real. Yes, she is. You know how I know? Lots of times I've
the
video
truth.
chatted with her.
It's that wheel.
She's pretty. So, you don't know the real story. I do. Peace out.
And after watching that video, it's clear to us that Scott is definitely gullible. Like, you could pretty much tell this guy absolutely anything and he'd believe it to be true. It's also important to mention that at this time in Scott's online presence, he posted videos like this one here, where Scott is faking a phone call.
Alright, let's do some cleaning. Huh. I wonder who this is. Hello? 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 Oh, well. Not paying attention to my answer. Damn. Same number. Hello? Hello?
What the fuck is this guy doing?
Hello?
What is this guy doing?
This person has one more chance. Alright, after this, I'm going to have to do something. Hello? 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 Damn it. Oh, that's it. Jiminy Crickets.
Jiminy fucking
Same
crickets.
person. Oh, this is Joe's ball sack. How may I help you? I need to really.
Joe's boss. I can't do, baby.
Hello?
Oh, hey.
I guess they got the hint.
Now, it was videos like the one we just watched that would slowly start to build Scott's audience, which in turn allowed Scott to become more and more comfortable with posting different videos on TikTok and eventually turning on his first live stream. But at this time, Scott's account was still relatively underground, until one day everything would change. You see, on September 25th, 2022, Scott posted a video of him showcasing his infamous Power Ranger suit.
What's up, you guys? I'm gonna do a video that I've not done
Look at this
in a long
torso.
time, but this is new on this account.
Look at his torso.
Swapping time! Tiger Sword!
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. He means business.
Ready for action. Let's do this, guys. Let's power up the place. And this is Wolverine as a Power Ranger. Zordon has recruited the Wolverine as a Power Ranger. So yeah, I hope y'all like that. So
Now, this video sent a shockwave all throughout TikTok. Not only did this video explode in virality, it also put Scott on the map in terms of becoming more popular online. But as many of us know, everything comes at a price. Because just 5 days after the last video we watched went viral, Scott would make an appearance on a TikTok posted on September 30th, 2022, basically calling out his trolls.
this is to the people. It's trying to scare me off of TikTok and the internet. I'm here to stay, guys. Because people here needs my smarts and good advice, you know. They would never scare me off. I'm here to stay. Power Ranger, Batman, anything. Wolverine. I'm here to stay. There's nothing y'all can do to change that. Nothing. Police here, Mobile Police, all the officers are my friends. There's nothing y'all can do or say to them. You can't call them from another city and state. You have to call them from your state. Call your police department. And, well, good luck trying to get me off of the internet. Good luck. And I appreciate all y'all. May the power protect you.
Now, not too long after that, Scott began to learn how to live stream on TikTok, which only gave trolls more access to mess with Scott. And for those of you who don't use TikTok, one of the features they have on live streams are known as battles, where two different creators can go on a split screen and go head to head for donations. The person with the most donations wins, then the process repeats itself. So trolls would begin to battle on live with Scott, making for some pretty funny moments over the years. One of the most infamous moments from Scott's TikTok live is when he would battle a Kermit the Frog puppet, and Scott would absolutely lose his mind every time Kermit would win because Scott felt as if his TikTok donations were being stolen. And Kermit even got under Scott's skin after bragging about a fake WWE belt, as you can see here.
The belt is ours, Scotty.
Nope, the belt ain't y'all's. Nope.
The Kermit crew's sitting on it right now.
No, you better take off my belt. Stop
Nope.
sitting on my belt,
Nope,
goddammit.
it's our belt now.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
No,
is.
it's not. I got the goddamn belt.
No, you don't.
See, I got the daggum belt.
No, I'm sitting on it. We're the champs.
No, you thief. You thief.
No, 6-0. Boom. Let me give a shout out to the MVP. Good.
Fuck you, Kermit. We're no longer friends. I'm blocking you. Fuck you, goddamn bitch.
We're the champs.
No, we still the champs. Fuck you, bitch.
Now, at this point, I'd be lying if I told you that the Kermit crash out was the only time Scott would lose his mind on social media, because not too long after the last incident, Scott found himself crashing out on live once again in a panel full of trolls.
Say thank you, baby. I love you.
Oh, shit.
Whoa, look at those moves, right?
You only call me that.
Hey,
Kilo.
come on, dude, look at those titties.
Baby, what the? Are you cheating on me?
No.
Yes.
Well, why
shit.
do you call that
Those
person
titties.
baby?
I said thank you, maybe.
Now, it's not rocket science to
Wow,
understand that
he's
Scott most
tripping.
likely deals with some sort of mental disabilities, as I mentioned earlier. So, as I was doing my research, it did confuse me as to why there were so many
tripping.
people messing with Scott so much, especially because it was clear he's disabled. And not to mention, most of Scott's videos seemed positive, until I uncovered the fact that Scott was arrested in his hometown for theft of property in the third degree, leaving him with a D-class felony. And even though this isn't a reason to troll Scott, and it doesn't necessarily make him a bad person, it did help me to build the conclusion as to why people troll him. Because after knowing Scott was arrested in the videos we've already seen, it's clear that Scott has anger issues. And it's important to mention that most of these videos we've seen of Scott crashing out are hidden from the eyes of his viewers, making people who archive his content, and especially his live streams, a hot commodity in Reddit threads and comment sections. And it was in these same Reddit threads and comment sections that led me to find some of the most concerning videos of Scott Rogers, where he's seen on 2 separate occasions showing his package on TikTok Live out of pure frustration, and even saying the hard R on stream as well.
Nah, this is beyond ridiculous. Someone impersonating me? Don't just ignore it.
Yeah,
Nah,
stop
motherfucking
impersonating me, motherfucker.
You know what? Go f yourself, you motherfucking.
You know
bitch.
what? You know what? Go drink cyanide.
That's so fucked up.
No, why don't you go drink?
Are you trying to get me bananas?
That's
Are you
Yeah?
trying
Why don't you go
to
drink your daddy's?
Why don't
I hope you're not
drink
trying to
your
give me
daddy's
bananas.
piss?
You know what, bitch? Suck on this, bitch. You let a fake me come in, your love, and that. Nah, we're done.
fake
You're blocked on everything, motherfucking bitch ass.
Oh, Scott.
Because you motherfucking do not.
That's messed
And
up.
no.
Oh my
You
God.
fucking idiot, bitch.
Scott, what did you just say?
Look here, bitch. Nah, I'm done with your ass, Vok. You're gonna be blocked from my account.
Now, as Scott continued to create content on TikTok, viewers began to assess Scott's
crazy.
living situation as well. As you can see here, this is Scott's mattress. And I can't lie to y'all,
This
this might be the
always
most
on live.
disgusting example of a sleeping arrangement I have ever seen with my own 2 eyes. And I guess one of my questions is, how in the world does a white mattress
Holy
turn
shit.
fully black? Now, like I said previously, Scott lives with his dad, who has his own set of health issues. And we don't really know too much about their relationship, but I did find a rare video of them two together. And in this video, it seems as if Scott's father is staring into blank space or maybe even a TV screen, wondering if his son has an off button.
I have a cricket in my hand. There. I have a cricket in my hand. He's going to do 3 backwards. 1, 2, 3. He wants to do 3 more, but hold his jacket. 1, 2, 3. You think I have a cricket in my hand? Then why are you holding his jacket?
Dad's like, what the fuck, man? Dad's been enough to raising you his whole life, man. Dad's burnt out. Give Dad a break. Let
Now,
Dad
as
watch
we close out
TV,
the year
fucking
2022 in the Scott Rogers timeline, I did find one more video from that year posted on November 15th, 2022 that made me feel weird while watching it. And in this particular video, Scott is mentioning what he'd do if he woke up as a girl.
You know what would be real freaky, guys? If a man woke up in a woman's body and the woman woke up in the same man's body, like they switch bodies, you know?
No one's ever thought of that before.
I mean, I hope that does not happen to me, but damn, I just watched a video, a 3-parter about that. Boy wakes up in a girl's body. I mean, that was week. I was like, oh my God. And it was, like in the movies. I hope the person, and I will not do this. If that happens to me, I will not open that post and look down. I will not do that. I'll be respectful.
Yeah, I'm sure you would.
Okay. And until I get the body switch back, you know, and not take a shower, you know, I will change. But I'll get the clothes ready and change with my eyes closed. Use the sense of feel. Just out of respect of the woman who I switch bodies with. But anyway, I hope that it's not true. I don't know. Peace out, guys.
I don't know about y'all, but I just find it interesting how Scott's like, yeah, I hope that doesn't happen to me, as he explains exactly what he'd do if he was in a woman's body. But that video certainly scratches the surface in terms of creepiness compared to the next video I found where Scott is seen at a park on October 17th, 2024, wanting to do a puppet show for some random kids in the park.
What's up, TikTok? I'm at the park across the street from my house.
Just watching kids.
There's some kids there. I want to see if I can do a puppet show. Ask their parents, see if I can.
Yeah, he wants to do a
Got
puppet
Carlos
show.
with me.
This guy's a fucking weirdo, man.
I'll let you know how it goes if I can. Peace out.
Whoa.
Luckily, I don't think Scott ever got out of his car, but this certainly wouldn't be the last time Scott would potentially scare the public with his puppet, because on January 11th of 2025, Scott would then take his puppet to a drive-thru, as you can see here. And before you watch this video, get your cringe cap on, because this is a hard watch.
Let this guy
Yes,
drive.
sir, like a sausage egg McMuffin, please. And how much are your breakfast
We
burritos?
get paid enough for this shit.
One burrito was like $3.
How much would it be with the sausage egg McMuffin and 2 burritos? How much
Wow.
would that be together?
A sausage egg with muffin and 2 burritos,
Yes, ma'am.
$7.90.
All right, I'll take that, please.
Okay.
What is this, man?
I'm coming around.
Okay.
This guy's gonna hit somebody. Rye left the chat. He went to sleep.
I do this to make y'all's day, you know?
Alex, slow this on him.
Hey. Yes, sir.
Weirdo, man.
All right, you too.
At least these people are nice about it. Oh, look at him, man. This guy's got problems. He's gonna get into an accident and kill somebody.
Hello. You too. What's that, man?
I do this to make y'all lift y'all spirits because I know y'all deal with some shitty ass people, you know, and just to make y'all's day.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Have a good one.
Get your.
Well, I've not done that in a while.
I'm sure they missed it.
Well. Gotta go.
Now, at this point in the video, it's safe to mention that finding any more information on Scott and his story was very difficult. One of those reasons is because Scott isn't the most popular lolcow, so there's not a lot of people archiving his content. But the biggest reason, in my opinion, has got to be the fact that Scott regularly privates his TikTok page in an attempt to slow down any trolls that want to mess with him. And as of me making this video, his page is currently on lockdown, as you can see here. So I do apologize if this video seems to be a bit all over the place or a bit shorter in comparison to my recent videos. But after putting this together, I realized that Scott isn't necessarily a bad guy. Has he made some very questionable and creepy decisions? Absolutely. But I do think we can all agree that Scott isn't all the way there. So whether or not you believe Scott to be a creepazoid or if he's just manipulated by his trolls is up for you to decide. In my opinion, I do think Scott has weird tendencies, especially if we were to mention him showing his private parts on a live stream out of anger. But when it comes to Scott's genuine well-being, I am concerned for him because it seems that his dad doesn't have too much longer here on Earth, and we can only sit here and wonder what that looks like for Scott when the time comes. At the end of the day, I don't wish anything bad on Scott, and I do wish the best for him. And as we close out this video, I thought it would be fun to end on one of my personal favorite videos from Scott's arsenal. Enjoy.
Hey, you guys. I'm waiting on the police because this truck right here, I have a bad feeling about it. I do not know. It's an Enterprise truck rental. Called the police. They're on the way.
It's got a bad feeling. You call the police.
I've been here for a very long time. And I'm sensing that someone is back there. I don't know. Waiting on the police.
You see those fingers?
Mississippi tag.
Those fingernails.
Just don't know.
I'd be mad.
But
I'd be mad.
I'll keep y'all
You call the
updated.
cops on me for no reason. What the hell?
Take care.
Hey, if you ever want to see some more of my content, I also have a gaming channel that you can find in the description. On top of that, soon I'll be starting a war story channel where I'll be making very similar videos to these instead of lolcows and creeps.
Keeps getting caught. What is this? Drug myths. I gotta go to sleep in a minute, man. It's about time to go to sleep. Oh my god. Look at this person. Remember this person, Ben?
You've got a great idea for an app, and you can't believe that no one else has thought of it yet. You're sure this...
Tammy Hole is worse than ever.
I'll see you in court, sweethearts.
Yeah,
You little demon.
Burn! Burn!
I can't wait. Hear your screams.
The last time that we
Can't believe I
covered
talked to
Tammy
this
Hull,
freak one time.
aka #1 public enemy of Jasper County, she had adapted completely to her new way of life, living out of a truck with her dog Heidi, begging people online for money, and of course, raging against the government. For those who aren't aware of who Tammy is, I highly recommend my first video on her, Tammy Hull, TikTok's angriest scammer, but a quick rundown of her would be what I just said, that she lives in her truck and begs people online for money, while also raging about various conspiracies that she has crafted herself, from poison hemlock grass taking over the world, to corrupt police departments complicit in the theft of her EBT fart card. These conspiracies enrage Tammy, and the resulting meltdowns have led to the following that she has today. I found Tammy's antics fascinating and decided to make my first video on her some months back. And shortly after the release of that video is where we pick up the story today. Tammy was made aware that people were making videos covering her on various social media platforms, and that most of them were calling her out for her poor behavior. And as she's been known to do very much, she would respond to the criticism in these videos by making a very angry one of her own.
I'm so happy I've entertained you guys. I'm so fucking happy. I am so happy everybody loves my videos. I'm so happy people like my videos. Well, you know what? I'm going through a living hell while the
That's
world
crazy.
watches. While Jasper County and these places stay in business and treat me like shit. I'm over it. I'm over it. God is coming. God's going to tear you up. God is going to tear him up. Burn! Burn! Burn, baby, burn! Burn, baby, burn!
I want to interview this bitch.
Burn, baby, burn.
Tammy seemed unhappy that it was her facing criticism for all of this, and not Jasper County, along with Dawn Myers. And some of you who might be new to Tammy are probably asking yourselves, what has she even done to be criticized for? Well, that would be the many scams that Tammy has pulled in her lifetime. Tammy will beg her audience for money and then spend it on something completely different. In the past, people have paid her
Oh, what
for
a
hotel
surprise.
rooms only for her to pocket the money and go stay down at the park. You're also probably asking yourself, where is the money going? And
Crack.
the answer to that is either food, which sometimes she will splurge on, or various substances which Tammy likes to recreationally partake in. Most of the people that give money to her do it under the pretense of actually helping her, only for her to take that money and use it for the exact opposite reasons. It might be a shocker, but Tammy has been like this for a very long time. And we know this because out of nowhere, a family member of Tammy's would step forward with some stories. This all began when Tammy started
Jesus
telling
Christ.
stories about her family on TikTok, making absolutely atrocious claims about her mother and siblings. When Tammy's niece heard about her internet infamy as well as the lies that she had told about the family, she decided to create a TikTok to dispute all of Tammy's claims, while also telling some of the wildest Tammy stories of her own, revealing that Tammy had been the way that she is for a very long time.
I had invited my mom down to spend like a week with me, but she ended up having to work. So I was making decent money. So I called Tammy and I was like, hey, do you want to come to Florida, for like a week and stay with me? So she gets on the bus. I think it was that night or like 2 a.m. the next morning. Bus rides like 20 something hours. Anyway, I pick her up in Destin at like 7 o'clock in the morning and we go straight to the beach. Well, I have to work. I'm working like 2 or 3 jobs at this point in my life. I was getting ready for work and I drop her off at the harbor. So anyway, she sits down at like this little spot called Turtles. Anyway, I go to work and I'm there for maybe 2 hours and it's at a nightclub and I hear my name screamed as loud as possible. And oh my gosh, as soon as I heard my name, I knew exactly who it was. So I look back at the door and there stands Tammy. And she's with kind of like an acquaintance of mine. I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, how did you even get here? And my buddy was like, oh, I found her da 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 da, and she's got like a wad of cash. I'm like, where did you get like that money from? So she had sat down at my buddy's bar and apparently told one of her sad, soppy stories. She's been doing this for years, scamming people. That's her MO. She tells a sad story to a couple that's like they're on their honeymoon or something. And they end up feeling sorry for her and give her a $100 bill. And what does she do with that money? She blows it on what? Stupid stuff. Alcohol. That's whenever that K2 stuff was cool. Buys, I don't even know how much of it. Goes as far as like we're sitting out back one night and she's smoking it and she gets tore up from it. I mean, like I thought she was having a heart attack. I don't know what it was. So me and my friend like try to carry her in. Her pants are pulled down to her ankles, like crazy. Just embarrassing. She wants us out there and say the government has done this and done that and ruined her life. I'm telling you, this goes back as far as I can remember of her ruining her own life.
Not only did Tammy's niece claim that she had been scamming people for quite a while, but that she was also using some things that could explain her mental state in the current day. When Tammy heard about all the claims that her niece was making, she was not very happy, and she would address this in TikToks of her own, confirming that this was actually her niece, giving her claims even more believability.
To the family members out bashing my name, I'll see you in court. I'll see you in court, sweethearts. Keep running your gums. Keep running them gums. You know who you are. I don't say you sleep at night. I don't say you look at yourselves in the mirror. You ought to be ashamed. Ashamed of your selves. Jealousy. So ugly. So ugly, but you made your bed. Touching suck to say. You made your bed, lie in it. Cover up or cuddle butt.
This became a back and forth thing between Tammy and her niece, and would only lead the niece to tell even more stories about what Tammy had done in the past, and some of them are pretty damn bad, like the time that Tammy allegedly stole money from her mom during her own sister's funeral.
There's a video that Tammy posted about somebody accusing her of stealing after her sister died. So I'm going to tell you the story that I remember of that night. So she was living in Texas. When her sister passed away, she rode the bus up here. I picked her up at the bus station, took her back to her other sister's house, and she was there maybe an hour before a fight broke out there. I had left. My baby was just a baby. So I went home to make dinner for my husband. She called me crying, saying that her sister just kicked her out. If I could come back and pick her up. And my husband's like, absolutely not. Like, I don't want her at my house. So there's words that were said that are literally unforgivable, the nastiest things you could ever imagine. So her sister's like, if you go to the funeral, you better watch your back, kind of thing. Needless to say, Tammy doesn't go to the funeral. Big coward, like never told her sister bye. What she does do before the funeral and before we all get to the house that we're all meeting at to go to the funeral, Tammy had went over there and stole, I don't even know how much money out of her mom's purse. And then she leaves town. She comes up here to go to her sister's funeral, doesn't go to the funeral, gets in a fight with her sister, steals a whole bunch of cash out of her mom's purse.
To not show up at the funeral is one thing. You just had problems with another one of your family members. But to use that opportunity to take from your own mother who is grieving the loss of her daughter, that is absolutely next level. And when this got to Tammy's ears, she was none too happy about it. And she was even angrier when her niece said that she was going to Jasper County to attempt to interview one of the police officers that Tammy had harassed. This led Tammy to draw connections between her family and Jasper County, claiming it was all one big conspiracy.
Just found out my niece is running her gums over at Jasper County. I don't care what they talk about. My niece ain't seen me in years. I don't even know what she would have to say about me. or anyone at that. This is insane. They're hiding from me, though, because I can't see your account. You're a liar. That's why you hide, because you're lying. I don't hide. I'm not lying. Ooh, God got me out of there for a reason, didn't he? Snakes. Snakes. You guys are snakes. My own niece. Yeah. You got no power over me, little girl. You little demon. Finding out it's been my family and working with the police doing shit and thinking they can just go tell somebody, by God, and they'll do something to us has me pissed. You need to wake the fuck up, because I don't give a fuck who you are. You're going to leave me sitting out in the fucking cold and tell me it's God's plan. Bullshit. Ooh, I swear. You know what? I can't wait to hear your screams.
This bitch is crazy, man.
I cannot wait.
I also cannot wait, but it's to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Five. Five is a premier source for high-potency CBD gummies, all shipped done to her family. And like I said, this was all in response to outlandish claims that Tammy had made about said family members. From my understanding, her niece had no intention of addressing any of this if she didn't bring her loved ones into it. Tammy made absolutely vile claims about them, and used those claims to try to solicit sympathy from her audience for donations. It's absolutely terrible, and I commend Tammy's niece for sticking up for her family members. They probably have no idea just the scope of terrible things Tammy has said about them, and the amount that Tammy has profited from those claims. And because Tammy saw that it did elicit sympathy in people, she continued to do it. So her niece continued to post videos, like the one I'm about to show you, which is my personal favorite. The retelling of a